I'm your host, Inez. Thank you for joining me today on the Love Matters Talk Show. I realize that you could be doing a lot of other things and you could be watching other channels, but I am grateful, godly grateful, that you are giving me your time. I've been talking to women this month since in this month we have Mother's Day, so I've been trying to honor women, particularly mothers, who are doing things other than the magnificent and huge job of being a mother. It's amazing to me how women can actually do that, can be a wife and a mother and have a career and be a teacher and all the other things. They teach Sunday school, including all those other things that they do. So I'm excited about it, and I have one of those mothers with me who is doing all of that, and she's also an author. I have with me Betty Collier. Thank you so much for joining us. And
thank you.
You've written your first book, and wow, she's a nurse as well, right?
Right.
She's a nurse. So tell me, how do you do all of this?
Well, actually, I'm a full-time nurse case manager. This is my first book, so it's the first time to actually consider myself an author. And I still work as a nurse, but God had inspired me to write this book, actually to give my testimony, to share with other people. So it was something that I was commanded by him to do, so I just had to make time to continue on with everything else that I had to do and to do this as well, because it was something that I truly felt like God had instructed me to do, to write my testimony, to share it with other people.
Okay, I do want to give them the name of the book. The book is Living Inside the Testimony. And okay, I just want to make sure people know, and it would say a testimony of God's love and abundant blessings. Wow. So you must have an awesome book, because God is definitely awesome, and he says he loads us daily with benefits, and every day we get new mercy. So I can hardly wait. I didn't get a chance to read the whole book, so I can hardly wait to really dig into it and learn, find out all the blessings and how God has shown his love to you. But before then, let's talk to you and see what you can tell us. And we don't want you to give away the book, but we do want you to give us some of the things. So let's start off with just how did you get inspired, or when did you actually start it, like at the time frame?
Actually, it started January 9th, and that was when I had received an email, so I remember the exact date.
This year?
January 9th, 2009.
Wow.
It only took a month to write it, but it's
serious?
a God-inspired thing, so that's why it was so quick. But I had received an email from a friend who was working on a DVD project for me, and I had taken pictures of our home that was under construction. It was our dream home, and we had started from before we acquired the land, and that's mentioned in the book too, how we acquired the land, because that's a testimony all by itself. But I had taken pictures of the land, and then all during construction through December of 2008 with Christmas, and I had given her the pictures just off my little digital camera and asked her to make a CD with all the pictures. And I had shared my testimony at church about the dream home and how God had blessed us so tremendously to acquire the land that was actually owned by 32 unidentified heirs. We actually didn't know who owned it at the time. Wow. So there were many struggles along the way to actually acquire this piece of property. So that's actually what started the process. I had shared my testimony at church, and then she had started on the DVD, and the pictures were showing of the construction and all, and it was my voice in the background just reading my testimony. It was about 20 minutes that I read from the testimony of how the whole thing had started. And on that particular day, January 9th, we were just emailing back and forth, and we had mentioned a few things, and it became apparent just from our conversation back and forth that the message that I was given in my testimony, she had said that it was meant to be shared by more than just our little circle of family and friends. It was something that would help inspire and encourage others. We know that's what testimonies do. We're overcome by the words of our testimonies. And she just, casually mentioned it, not knowing that that was the seed that God would use to plant in my head that January 9th night. So I woke up January 10th and started writing the book. And I finished February 13th. So it was about a month. But like I said, it was only because God had instructed me to do so. I went to bed that night and I dreamed about it. I pictured the cover of the book. The cover itself is another testimony that explains. It goes into great detail in the book how the cover came into existence. But the whole thing is just so God inspired. But that's what testimonies are. And it tells of the goodness of God and all that he has done for me. And actually the book starts back in the 1970s when I was in middle school and met my husband, future husband. So a lot of things along the way, but it was apparent after the email that I was to write this book, to share it with other people, to encourage other people, to show them that what he has done for me, he can do for others. He has no respect of person. So, you know, the abundant blessings that I talk about throughout the book. It's many things throughout the book. And if you look on the back cover, I kind of summarize some of the things that are included with the testimony, starting from when we fell in love at age 14. And we've been married 22 years now, so that in itself is another testimony. There's a picture on there from when we were in 9th grade, our wedding picture. Things were on there that just show how God has blessed us so tremendously for so many years.
How rare is that, to marry the person you fell in love with at 14? I can't tell you how many other times I've been in love since 14.
And to secretly write a book about it. So he actually didn't know at first when I was writing
secret.
it. He eventually found out, because it goes into that in the book too, about the head injury that he had. He had a head injury and he almost died at age 18. And I had to get the medical records. I wanted that part of the book. And of course he had to get the records.
You did all of this in a month.
Yes.
All of that in a month. Wow. That is exciting. So tell me some of the other major themes, or you said my testimony. So is it one big testimony, or?
It's one big testimony with a lot of little testimonies inside it.
And as I was writing the book,
the biggest, well, I'll show you from just on the back with the part about us falling in love at age 14. That's a testimony. The life-threatening head injury that required brain surgery at age 18. He had an epidural hematoma, and that's one of those conditions where if it's not treated, you will die from it. He had a head injury over the eyebrow of the left side, and he went to the emergency room. They stitched him up. It was a 4-inch scar. They stitched him up and sent him home, and he went home, started losing consciousness, kind of in and out. His heart rate dropped, excruciating headaches, nausea, vomiting, and his family was checking on him and realized something was wrong. Immediately got him to the second hospital. They did an emergency CAT scan. The neurosurgeon there, Dr. Miller, wonderful doctor at Methodist Central, immediately rushed him off to surgery at age 18 with his mother standing there watching her baby boy get taken away to surgery. But it was one of those immediate things where if they didn't do it to stop that blood clot, that was the epidural hematoma is a blood clot. And a couple of months ago, Natasha Richardson, an actress that was on TV that we heard about with the head injury, the skiing accident, she got up, thought she was fine, just had a headache. The exact same thing, an epidural hematoma. She didn't get the medical care that she needed in time, and she died from it. And that's what will happen if you don't receive the treatment to get the surgery to remove the blood clot. So he had this blood clot squishing actually his brains, and that's why he was losing consciousness. His heart rate was dropping, the headaches. He doesn't remember most of that. But had it not been for God preserving his life then at age 18, we wouldn't be here today. So that in itself is a testimony. You know, God is a healer. Everybody doesn't survive that. And had he just gone home and his family had not gone into the bedroom to see him in that state, they wouldn't have known. They would have just wakened the next morning and he would have been gone at age 18. So I count that a tremendous blessing, just that God preserved his life. He preserved his life, and he's still here now to tell the story, which he doesn't often share with people. Most people don't know he even had the head injury. Everybody we went to school with knows.
Now, where were you when all of this was happening? Were you in the picture?
It was a week before high school graduation. So we had fallen in love at 14. In 9th grade, we were a couple. We were madly in love, like 14-year-olds can be. But by our senior year, we were not together. We had kind of been on and off again. And I go into detail about our little romance in high school. And by the week before high school graduation, I didn't even know that he had the head injury. And my brother was here from California. He was the one that announced it to the family. And, he just casually mentioned, did y'all hear about the Collier boy that was in the hospital with the head injury? And, my mother just, spoke the words that just really did something to me. She said, I hope that boy don't die. It's like, that's when I realized, what if he does? What if something happens to him? So, I retreated to my room just in total agony over that thought that something could happen to him, and, found myself at the hospital in neurotrauma ICU where he was. His family was there around his bed. The surgery was over, and there he was. And from that point forward, we haven't been separated since.